Hey, Logan, everyone. Hope you're all doing well this Monday evening. We had to switch it over by a day. Hopefully, we'll be back on track come next week. Harold B, how you doing? Peter Frowine, how you doing? Pablo Pina, yes, today's Monday. That is true. We had to push it back by one day. Got to take care of some things, but we should be back on schedule by next week. So we're going to take a look at of course, a few items from Twitter. We'll take a look at Nick Giambruno's past interview, and then we're going to head on over to take a look at the Continental. And I know we've taken a look at the Continental before, but we're going to take a look at it in a little bit of a different way. We're going to be looking at it in the way where we're making the same mistakes we did back then. We're making the same mistakes today. And back then, it almost ruined the US. The US was almost never, the US was almost not to be. And we're seeing it happening again where the US, it may not be as we know it again. So we're going to be taking a look at a few of those things. Of course, I will be doing our ebook giveaway or our $10 Amazon gift card giveaway. I sent out to three of you guys. I think there's two more that still need to send your email to sbtv at silverbullion.com.sg. So please do the last two guys. If you didn't get it, make sure you go ahead and email us. So the Continental, we're going to take a look at it, the mistakes that happened back then, and we seem to willfully be doing it again today. Almost destroyed America the first time, or America almost as never was. America maybe could be destroyed the next time. Who knows? So we'll take a look at that, and your input always is appreciated. Logan, everyone, welcome to another edition of Silver Bullion Television, SBTV. I'm your host, Patrick Vieira. Glad you could be here. Really do appreciate it. If you are new, please do go ahead, type in new and where you're from. We'll see if we can go ahead and acknowledge you. Nicholas Nasty, how you doing? How we doing? How you doing? Patrick Bateman, how you doing? So again, appreciate you all being here. Go ahead, type in new where you're from. We'll see if we can go ahead and acknowledge you. As always, you can find us on social media. Silverbullion.com.sg is where you can find us on the web. Yes, we do sell gold, silver. We do store gold and silver. We are not a third party vault. When you store with us, you are talking directly to us, not some third party entity that holds your most precious, some of your most precious valuables out there. And we do specialize in systemic wealth protection. So as I always say, a lot of you do know what's going on out there, and there's definitely a currency crisis brewing. So you do definitely want to be in some type of alternative asset right now. Systemic wealth protection is what it's about. Silver Bullion SG is our Facebook handle where you can find us there. Silver Bullion PL for private limited. So where you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Silver Bullion SG. I think the gang has been doing fantastic with Instagram. Hope y'all have a chance to go there. And audio only versions, bit.ly, SBTV iTunes, SBTV Spotify is where you can find the audio only versions. Crisis Tracker, if you have that Telegram app or mobile desktop app, or even if you don't, go ahead and download it. It's free. Search one word, t.me/crisis tracker, one word. And this is where Vincent and I will go ahead and we'll post news items as it pertains to gold, silver, finance, economy, and we do try to stay away from politics, but it is getting it does seem to shade over into so many things nowadays. But we do try our best to get away from that as much as possible, so we can all keep a clear head for sure. As Vincent says, he chimed in here, crisis tracker, t.me/crisis tracker, and it's also a way where you can go ahead and post what you think, and we will respond from time to time. Crisis Tracker, Telegram app. Upcoming guest is going to be Francis Hunt. We're still trying to make sure that we can make this happen, but Francis Hunt, the market sniper. If you haven't heard a chance to listen to Francis Hunt, he's a very very unique person indeed. He's a trader first and foremost, and one of the, I don't want to say only, but one of the few that we've come across that acknowledges the value of physical, physical gold and silver. Now, with 30 years of experience in trading in his own or using his own capital in various markets, and instruments his passion for trading and his relentless study of markets, theories, and everything related to trading, he derived his own benefit, the Hunt volatility funnel trading methodology. Francis Hunt, very, very interesting guy. I do hope you folks have a chance to watch this interview. So again, please do subscribe, hit that bell to be notified, and thumbs ups are always, always appreciated. So okay, moving on. We want to give you that $10 Amazon gift card. I think from the previous live stream, 5 winners. We managed to send 3 of them out. So I think there's 2 more of you that need to contact us, sbtv at silverbullion.com.sg, so we can go ahead and send these out. We want to give them to you, but you got to win it. So in order to do that, be one of the first 5 to answer the question from a past interview. In this case, it'll be Nick Giambruno's interview correctly in this live stream before the timer runs out. You're going to have about 1 minute and 30 seconds. US winners, you're going to be given a link to download the gift card. Non-US winners, you can ask Amazon to exchange the gift card for you if it's not usable in your country. And again, you're going to have to provide us your email during this live stream. And again, that's going to be sbtv at silverbullion.com.sg. We want to give it to you, but you gotta kind of get it. Pablo Pina, yes, I heard about that. Amazon laying off 10,000 workers. I think FedEx, Federal Express, is also laying off some people too. So kind of interesting they're doing this right before the holiday season. So kind of tells you a little bit about the economy there. But okay, let's move on to the question from the Nick Giambruno interview. Hopefully you will get it. Yes, that is ouch, Nicholas Nasty. Okay, here we go. Nick Giambruno says fiat currencies are programmed to blank. According to Nick Giambruno, fiat currencies are programmed to blank. Hopefully, you had a chance to watch it. The answer is there, and we're going to confirm that as we move forward. But go ahead, take a shot, take a guess. You never know; you just might get it. Nicholas Nasty, yes, the hits just they keep on coming. I mean, you guys know what's going on out there. You guys know what's going on with the economy and such. So keep your head on a swivel, and you got to watch. These things they're out there, and they're getting more and more obvious. So go ahead and take a shot. Nick Giambruno says fiat currencies are programmed to blank. All right. So Patrick Bateman saying inflation, truth monster, self-destruct. Paul is saying could lapse. Nicholas Nasty, inflate. Harold B. Fail, and that is true, but not the answer. Mr. Nguyen, fail. Pablo Pina failed to zero. I'm looking for the exact word here. Return to zero. Kaput. Fantanaran, excuse me, self-destruct. Go ahead and take a shot. You never know. You may get it. But yeah, fiat currencies, they are destined to go back to zero. So just go ahead and take a shot. Um, okay, I guess that's it. The bell has rung, and we got. All right, I'll give it one last one up to Peter Frowine. Okay, so that's it. We got three winners here. Okay, the 3 that made it are going to be Truth Monster once again. I think I just sent your card from last week out, the other week out. So Self Destruct from Truth Monster, and we have Fantanaranha, I guess, self-destruct also, and then we have Peter Frowine also says self-destruct. So 3 guys have got it, and just to make sure, we're going to go back and take a look at that Nick Giambruno interview and make sure he did indeed say self-destruct.
It's quite obvious that fiat currencies are a lousy store of value. They are programmed to self-destruct because of all of the inflation, the money printing, which is primarily being used to finance government spending. So it is a certainty that these things are going to lose value. And over the long term, this is not a revelation. It's quite obvious that fiat currencies are a lousy store of value The US dollar just happens to be the best of the fiat currencies, but they're all junk. And frankly, this is where these people get their power. Think about it. They create fake money out of thin air and get the whole world to run on a hamster wheel to chase these little scripts of paper confetti and digital confetti. This is where these people get their power. So it's kind of like the Wizard of Oz. Just look behind the curtain and see that these people, they shouldn't have that much power. They're just a bunch of fraudsters creating fake money and getting us to chase after it. We should be going after real money. But yes, that is the nature of fiat money. They're going to create more of it. It's going to get debased, and it's going to be sad for most people who hold this garbage, frankly. And so, yes, I would expect to see, especially in the months ahead, much more currency debasement. I think that is the theme of the decade.
All right, don't hang on to that garbage. Turn it into into gold. So Nick says fiat currencies are lousy, programmed to self-destruct, and it is a certainty fiat will lose value. Currency debasement will be the theme of the decade if we get through another decade. Let's all hope for the best. Power is obtained through money, creating fake money we all use, and that is true. We there was a time we had real money there that held governments and politicians accountable to us, accountable to the money that's in the system. We should be going after real money. So, what are your thoughts on this? I mean, I know a lot of us understand what real money is. We look back to things like gold, things like silver as being real money. Question really is, how do we get back to it? I mean, we talked before about how congressional members such as Alex Mooney, they put bills before Congress each and every time asking to go back to sound money, and he can never even get a co-sponsor. No one will even come on board with it. So how are we going to do this if we can't even get people in power to understand this? That's a tough one because people in power, they enjoy the power that we gave. So I don't know. Maybe it's time to take it back. Maybe that's why we have elections. But then again, people don't even trust these anymore. Anyway, I can go on, but I want to see your thoughts on this, and we'll go ahead and take a look at another clip from Nick Giambruno.
I think the biggest distortion in all of the financial markets right now is that most of mankind doesn't even know what money is. Like I'm not talking about like a dollar bill or a peso or a ruble. I'm talking about what is money? Like what is it? What is the function of it? But it's very simple. It's to store value and to exchange value. That's it. That's all money is. It's nothing complicated. These gatekeepers in the media, they try to make it all these charts and these jargon. They try to confuse people. But at the end of the day, all money is something that you use to store and exchange value. So, what is something that is useful for storing and exchanging value? Well, historically, the best it has been gold and silver because out of all the commodities and all the things people use as money, they're the hardest things to produce. They're the hardest, the most resistant to inflation and the most resistant to political manipulation.
All right. So Nick laying it out again. What is money? What is money to you? Well, what does money mean to you? Okay, so storing and exchanging value and media is a gatekeeper, according to Nick. And I'd have to agree with especially the gatekeeper part. I mean, I think it's more and more obvious right now. I think it's becoming more and more obvious that it is definitely a gatekeeper now. Historically, the best store and exchange of value has been gold and silver. Precious metals are resistant to inflation and political manipulation. What are your thoughts on this? I know some of you are thinking maybe political manipulation, but then again, there's market manipulation. A lot of us see what's going on exchanges such as Comex and things like that, and it's getting harder and harder to believe. We're looking at the flow of metals from that were moving from west to east, where people feel that in time of a strong dollar, or traders may feel that in time of a strong dollar, metals will go down, so they sell them off, and a lot of these have to do with ETFs, and then here in Asia, people are buying it up. The West is a short-term game, and Asia is a long-term game. So Asia, they see the value of gold, while the West is really starting to sell it off. So, what are your thoughts here? Anyway, move on to one more clip from Nick Giambruno.
The big enchilada of global trade is the energy markets. So if you want to see where this de-dollarization is going to happen, it's in the energy markets. And Russia is one of the largest energy producers. And earlier this year, they said because of the sanctions that have cut them off from much of the global banking system, they'd be happy to take gold and Bitcoin in payment for their energy. So if that actually becomes a reality, that is when you're going to see the rubber hit the road, is in the energy markets. So I would be watching that very closely. Right now, the dollar is still dominant, but I think those days are rapidly coming to an end.
All right, rapidly coming to an end. The de-dollarization will come from the energy markets. We are seeing this. We are seeing this with what's going on with Russia and Europe and with other countries where they see how the dollar in so many ways and in so many times has become weaponized. And frankly speaking, a lot of people they want off. They want off of that merry-go-round. De-dollarization is how they're doing it, and sanctions are a cause for de-dollarization. And this time around, it does look like sanctions may be backfiring a bit. So, as I say, keep your head on a swivel and watch what's going on out there. Today, the dollar may be dominant, but that may be rapidly coming to an end, is what Nick Gianbruno says. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think the dollar is rapidly coming to an end? Do you think it'll end peacefully? Do you think it'll end by some type of evolution into a new currency, hopefully gold backed? Or do you think it'll end by some sort of revolution? Typically, changes happen in those two ways: evolution or revolution. So, what are your thoughts on this? Pablo Pina, petrodollar equals energy. That is true, and that petrodollar is it's dying. It's really dying. People are moving away from it. Market manipulation is political manipulation. Usually, true. I'd agree with that to a point. But tell you what, let's move on here to Gerald Salente's Trends Journal. Gerald's weekly message. We'll take a look at it. Rent troubles, and then the Fed is not your friend. Harold B. Great point. Dollar ends with intro of CBDC. And that is something we really have to watch as well. All right. So Gerald Salente. No matter which political gang wins the elections, and I think in some cases it's still being counted, the plantation workers of Slavelandia will lose. In this week's Trends Journal, or last week's, I should say, we write that the US government is essentially a crime syndicate controlled by two political gangs that have murdered and continues to murder millions across the globe in the name of bringing freedom and democracy. And in the process, it steals money from workers across the country to give to the too big to fail banksters and corporate overlords. At the end of the day, there is only one guaranteed winner, no matter what party carries the evening: the war machine. The war machine. Senator Mitch McConnell, who would be Senate Majority Leader, has already come out and said not many Republicans would even politicize endless support for Ukraine. And the lessons for us are clear. McConnell said the Biden administration and Ukraine's friends across the globe must be quicker and more proactive to get Ukraine the aid they need. And regardless of who wins, find out what it all means for Ukraine support, your 401k account, and we've talked about this before and freedoms in this week's issue. Your 401k, guys, uh, really, you've heard a lot of people say put 10% into gold and silver, right? 10% of your portfolio. And a lot of you out there think that may even be a bit too small. My my point here, I guess, what I want to say is consider your 401k. It may all be in fiat, and that is your life's savings, your life's work. So do you want to keep all that in fiat or put that in 10%, let's say a 10% portfolio of gold and silver? So do think about it. 401ks, rolling it over into a precious metals IRA. Just shoot me an email, sbtv at silverbullion.com.sg, and I can help point you in the right direction with this, because I think this is one of the most important things you can do for yourself right now. Okay, so let me move on a bit. Rent troubles. In October, 37% of US small businesses were unable to pay all of their rent on time. 37%, according to an October survey of almost 5,000 businesses. The proportion is up 7 percentage points from September's 30% and now stands at the highest rate this year. So this is growing. Small business employ about half of US workers in the private sector, and or according to Alignable, which they noted, excuse me, small business revenues are basically being eaten away by inflationary pressures, according to Charles Castro, Alignable's research chief, in an interview which he told Bloomberg. The rents have risen by at least 10% in the last 6 months for more than half the survey's respondents, and 1 in 7 report rent hikes of 20% or more. Almost half of restaurants were unable to make all of their October rent compared to 36% in September. Almost half. Okay, 37% of real estate agencies fell behind, 10 percentage points more than the month before, as rising interest rates and still lofty prices squelched the housing market. The vehicle dealerships and repair shops find it hard to get parts. One reason why half were unable to pay all of their October rent on time. About a third of small businesses risk failing if revenues do not rise in the months ahead. All right, so businesses still having a tough time of it. Fed not your friend. I have never known the Federal Reserve to make a good decision. Indeed, disastrous decisions are the Fed's hallmark, and there are many such disasters, among them the Great Depression, the decade long consequence of the Federal Reserve Board's failure to prevent the shrinkage of the US money supply. In more recent times, we had the Brooksley Born, head of the Commodities Futures Trading Commission, blocked, actually blocked from regulating over the counter derivatives and credit default swaps that resulted in financial panic and economic collapse. The Fed Chairman Alan Greenspan, Treasury Secretary Robert Rubin, Deputy Treasury Secretary Larry Summers, and SEC Chairman Arthur Levitt conspired, this is the word he uses, conspired to have Congress block Brooksley Born from doing her job. The four, you can all read that word. Hopefully, you see it. The four DS officials told Congress that markets are self regulating. And Greenspan, when later questioned by Congress, admitted that his ideology had a flaw. My ideology, hey, had a flaw. The Fed has abandoned effective financial regulation and helped to kill the 1933 Glass-Steagall Act that had kept commercial and investment banking separate. You all remember what happened when that was removed, right? It's ironic that it was the formerly progressive Democrat Party in the clutches of the Clintons that repealed, this is how it got repealed, the Progressive Glass-Steagall Act in 1999, thus setting up the line of financial troubles that caused the Fed to pump out money for 12 years in an effort to stabilize the financial system. So, hey, there's nothing political here. This has really got to do with facts. You know, these are factual. These are all things showing how past mistakes are really leading us up to where we are today. So again, do not take this as anything having to do politically. These are all known facts from the past that are putting us in the position we are today. And that includes the yields, the bond yields still rising, still inverting in some cases. So we'll go ahead and take a look at it. Keep in mind, this slope should be going gradually up and to the right. This is telling you that economic expectations are good. When we see it flattening out, the optimism is failing. And when we see it inverted, this usually is a sure sign that a recession is on the way. So let's take a look at how it's been moving since January. All right, so let me take a look at a few comments here. Yes, DS. Believe me, you have no idea how much I want to say that word. You have no idea. All right, let's see. Truth Monster, how can you run a business when your lease is a gazillion bazillion $1,000. That is true. Um, let's see, Pablo Pina in Greenspan's defense, he would get grilled back then. That is true. Today, yeah, Paul kind of gets a free pass. But looking at this, when we head into July and August, we really see the short end, the 2 year, 1 year, 6 month, 3 month really started to push up. So much so that in fact that by the time you get into October and November, these short end yields, the 1 year, 2 year, you can see where we stop now. They're giving more yield than the benchmark 10 year. You look at the benchmark 10 year, 3.82. I think it may have changed. I need to update this by a day, I believe. 3.82, but you can go as far back as 2 months where we have 4%. 2 months is giving you 4%. So you can go ahead and loan your money. Let's just say loan your money for 2 months and get 4% back, or loan your money for 10 months or 10 years and get 3.82 per annum. 4% per annum versus 3.82. What are you going to do, right? This is why I hear a lot of people say that the Fed, they can control the longer end more so than the shorter end. So I believe that's what I'm hearing people saying, but we have we'll see how that rolls out. So anyway, I'll go ahead and take a look at our website, silverbullion.com.sg. Let me move over here and refresh the page. Okay, see how gold and silver are doing. So I want to take a look at a few comments here. Okay, we're okay there. So November promo, gold maple leaf, $60 per ounce over spot. That's pretty good. It's pretty good. 1 kg silver bars, $3 per ounce over spot. $3 per ounce over spot. So that's pretty good there. Those are two pretty good promos. Vincent's working hard. He's working hard to come up with these promos. So Vincent, thank you. Thank you very much. I may have to come down come down to the store and pick some up. Nonetheless, silver 22.10. So silver is 22.10. We're in the $22 range. Gold 1774, still hanging on to that 1770 range, still hanging on to it. Still trying to hang on to being above 1750. And again, platinum at $1,029 right now. I think a lot of you have been noticing platinum has been closing the gap on gold. So keep an eye on platinum. So nonetheless, gold, silver, platinum, all hanging in there. Almost no change really this Tuesday morning here in Asia. So let me take a look at that gold silver ratio. It's come down. We're now in the 80 range. I think we were in mid 80s not that long ago. So we're down to the 80 range. And what this means is if you're looking to buy gold and silver and you're kind of undecided which one to get, let me hang on, let me move on to the full page here. So if you're kind of deciding which one to get, you can use this ratio where a lot of people use 80 as a guide. If it's 80 and above, it's a time to buy silver, where silver is relatively cheap compared to gold. But when it gets down there, I mean, especially down this range here, 50 or so, uh, it's usually a time to buy gold. So in between, yes, it's a tough decision, but 80 kind of helps you out. If it's 80 and above, you want to be looking at silver, and over time, what you'll do is you will sell your silver and buy gold, or you will sell your gold and buy silver, and you move back and forth between the two metals. With coins, it is a bit difficult because of the premiums. Premiums on coins are pretty high. Premiums on bars, still fairly reasonable. So you might want to be looking at bars in this case. All right, so let's move down here a bit. Featured products, we do have Britannias and Maples. We do have 1 kilogram gold bars. Uh, 100-gram bars are pretty popular as well. And LBMA bars, really, if you really want to just get the lowest premium possible, you would want to be getting LBMA bars. So we do have 4 at our shop here in Singapore. For local people listening, you can run on down there with your trolley. I saw someone last week. He brought his backpack. We tried to put it in his backpack. He couldn't carry it, so we had to take it down to his car with the trolley. So it is heavy. Make no mistake with that. 297 for our international clients, where you can go ahead and purchase this and put it in your in your your vault holdings, you do own it. When you buy it, you do own it. It is off our books. You are the owner, the absolute owner. To do this, you'd have to sign up as a Silver Bullion user, or you probably have an account with us. We have 6 different types: personal, joint, trust, joint account with the minor, business accounts, and retirement accounts. Again, um, I will keep bringing this up. I think this is a very important time for us to understand that if we have those 401ks and whatnot, we should consider rolling it over into a precious metals IRA to keep the purchasing power for one thing, and of course the dollar it's maybe headed into a bit of trouble, so you do not want all of your retirement to be in fiat. I mean, you should be looking at some type of alternative to fiat. It's not financial advice, professional or otherwise. It's just our opinions on things. Retirement accounts are easy to do. Just shoot us an email, sbtv@silverbullion.com.sg, and we can help you with this. And yes, you can actually put your retirement account, your precious metals account, you can store it overseas outside of your home jurisdiction. So again, shoot us an email. Personal accounts are the easiest to go ahead and open. We just need a form of ID, fill out the application, and we'll go ahead and take care of things on the back end here, and then go ahead and open up an account for you. It's that easy. References, do go ahead and put in SBTV. This helps us out more than more than you know. So please do go ahead and do that. And while you're here at the website, come down to resources if you want. Go ahead and take a look at some insights. I'll be visiting this, in fact, later on because I'm going to take a look at something Vincent wrote. So, Vincent, I'm going to take a look at something, but no worries, you did a great job as always. So, insights here, repeated pattern of screwing over dollar holders. That's you and me, perhaps. Get more gold by buying silver. Why gold doesn't need to pay an interest. Gregor Gregerson, Silver Bullion's founder, he talks a bit on stagflation. So again, you definitely want to come down to resources on our website, go down to insights and take a look at some of the info we got. And while you're there, just go ahead and sign up for an account. It's free. It's good to have in case you need something ready to go. So please do, sign up for an account and SBTV as the reference. Taking a look at Twitter, I tell you what, Twitter was mind-boggling. I went through it this morning, and I saw so much FTX things, so much of it. I'm sure you guys have been hearing about this in the news as well. So first thing I came across from Nikkei Asia. Good morning, Asia. This was our most read story over the weekend. U.S. doubles down on ASEAN aid to counter China. For those of you that don't know, ASEAN is the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, and it is a a big and growing part of Asia, which are the ASEAN countries, of which Singapore is one of them. So US doubles down on ASEAN aid to counter China. And I gotta tell you, when I saw this article, my first feeling was, it's getting harder and harder to feel the strength or power of anything to do with the administration. And I'm saying it because we see, Biden in so many weak positions, whether it's politically or physically, and it's getting really hard to take anything, from a position or hearing it from a position of power. So, it's getting rough. U.S. is really a lot of self-infliction there. Dan Collins, oh my gosh, we are on the streets for freedom right now. Brazil. Brazil is really out there. Part of it is because they have no faith in their elections. They have no faith in the outcomes of their elections. Uh, Steve Hanke, massive crowds in Madrid. Okay, so from Brazil to Madrid, protesting against the sad state of the Spanish economy and the poor state of the healthcare system. And we're seeing this all over the world. It is just popping up in so many different countries right now. Gold Telegraph, Ottawa just pushed Chinese state-owned companies out of the sector. and the US is now considering moving public funding in. So what this is about, Department of Defense, the Pentagon, they're looking at I don't want to say nationalizing, but they're looking at uh, going ahead and getting some public funding to these mines in Canada. So this is pretty interesting. We talked about this before. What happens if mines become nationalized, or if they have state actors that come in to really buy up mines? I mean, we've talked about it before, so I guess we're going to kind of see what happens here. TF Metals, Craig Hemke, keep an eye on this. I need to look into this as well. Turkish Interior Minister on attack in Istanbul. We know how this event was coordinated. We know where this is coordinated from. We know the message given to us. We do not accept the condolences of the American ambassador. We reject them. So I didn't read through it, but there was, sadly, a bombing in Istanbul. It's being labeled a terrorist attack, and officials there are not happy with the U.S. So we have to keep an eye on this, as Craig Hemke says. The world is, man. Chris Martinson, this had to do it with a little bit of FTX and the people that they supported, and really it just goes to say, guys, we have to always see two sides of the coin, and what we're seeing a lot of times, media, social media, with the so-called book burning, it's not a good thing. We never in history was it a good time where information was being held from you. So we have to, even if we don't want to, we have to seek out what the other side is saying. Neil Kashkari, the recent sad developments in crypto land remind me of this paragraph from The Great Crash by John Kenneth Galbraith. It should be required reading for all finance types. History seems to be repeating itself almost every decade lately. And this was part of the reason why I went and looked at the Continental and see what it was saying back then that we are seeing today with this whole um, history repeating itself. So what he's saying about is, um, basically, there was the magic of leverage. Okay, the magic of leverage, but this is not all of it. Where the common stock of trust, which had so miraculously increased in value, held by still another trust with similar leverage, the common stock of that trust would get an increase between 70 to 800% from the original 50% value, and so forth. In 1929, the discovery of the wonders of the geometric series struck Wall Street with a force comparable to the invention of the wheel. So there was a rush to sponsor investment trust. I mean, it goes on and on, but um, you can go ahead and take a look at it. I'll just end it here. Having launched one trust and retained a share of the common stock, the capital gains from leverage made it relatively easy to swing a second and larger one, which enhanced the gains and made possible a third and still bigger trust. So the power of leverage, um, it's not always a good thing. I'll just wrap it up with Peter Schiff and Chris Marcus, where Schiff is saying it's not a crypto winter. That implies spring is coming. This is also not a crypto ice age, as even that came to an end after a couple million years. This is crypto extinction, but blockchain will live on. Gold will rise again to lead a new breed of asset-backed cryptos. Asset-backed cryptos. All right, so keep an eye on those gold-backed tokens as well. I'm going to say take a look at our Cash.Gold, which is a absolutely gold-backed token. That one you can actually check the website to know that the gold really does exist. And last one here, Chris Marcus, J.P. Morgan Chase, strategist. Uh, Strategist wrote Bitcoin could theoretically reach 146,000 in the long term by crowding out gold. Will be interesting to see if the FTX saga leads to a new perspective on gold and silver. And then we have Bloomberg in response to Bloomberg's article where big investors are giving up on crypto markets going mainstream. All right, so a lot going on Twitter. Sorry to have kept you wild there. So we're going to be taking a look at the next topic of the day. Do we ever learn? And that, of course, is going to be about the Continental. So I want to just see the comments here. I know that you folks have been chiming in there. SK, yes, stick with metals, cash, and hard assets. Absolutely. Do we ever learn? Right. These are the things that historically have held governments to account, have held politicians to account, have made our time and our labor worth worth something, not a piece of paper. Let's see. Truth Monster, the amount of friction in our system is crippling. You just can't get anything done. Obstacles every step is an obstacle. That is true. That is true. To get anything done, it's incredibly difficult nowadays. Niels, buy silver and platinum. I'm really looking at platinum. Silver, that's a guarantee. I'm gonna buy that for sure. It's just automatic. Platinum, it's taking a little bit more to actually go ahead and pull the trigger. But like they say, once you pull the trigger, your first ounce is the hardest ounce. So once you get that first ounce, you're good to go. Every ounce after becomes a little bit easier and a little bit easier. Um, yeah, tax dollars, insane. It's just insane. um, Absolutely agree with you there, Peter Frowine, for sure. Um, let's see, Rolf Steiner. Imagine they nationalized the gold mines in Canada and the U.S. It's true. I've been, I mean, not just me, but there's other people who have said, what happens if they do nationalize the mines? What happens with the price? Um, Maybe price is not the big deal, because if they're going to nationalize the mines, that means they need gold. So they need it for something, which I would suspect is going to be something to do with the monetary system. If they came in and said, "Hey, we need the gold, we need the gold," I suspect it's going to be something to do with the monetary system, and maybe they will have to back it, back currencies one day by gold, maybe silver as well. But again, speculation. I don't know. I don't know. But it is interesting to think, why would they nationalize these mines, gold mines in particular. Uh, Take a look at a few other comments here. John Mathea, BRICS and other countries will rule the economies before long. Goodbye, USA. Um, you know, I tell you what, it's kind of painful, but at the same time, you got to be true. The BRICS are rising, and it seems like economically they are doing it better. And I don't want to say right, because I don't know what the outcome is yet, but I do know they are doing it better than what the West, what the US has done. Um, it's a sad thing for sure. I mean, for some of us, maybe it's a great day for others. So I'm not going to rain on anyone's party, but I would just say, US has not done a good job, or certain people within the government of the US has not done a good job. I know you guys out there, you're trying your best. I'm no different, trying my best. We're all trying our best. And that's actually all over the world. We're all just trying our best to get ahead as best we can. Okay, so moving on. Do we ever learn? Really? I mean, we have printed money, currency, like there's no tomorrow. And what is interesting is that for the U.S., there was almost almost no tomorrow, almost no U.S. Referring to the Continental, and I'm going to take a look at the history of it, and what history is screaming right now to you, to me, about money creation. The expression "not worth a continental," meaning not worth a continental dollar, came into the lexicon during the Revolutionary War, when recourse to paper money drove up prices, ruined the economy, and nearly caused the US to lose the war. This is the Revolutionary War. In 1775, practically at the outset of the hostilities, the Continental Congress authorized an issue of 2 million in paper money. By the end of 1776, it's 1 year later, okay, 1 year later, 25 million was in circulation already, at a 30% discount relative to silver. Remember, we had the money was somewhat backed by metals back then. Okay, so by the end of 1777, 38 million was in circulation at a 70% discount relative to silver. So it's starting to, the printing is having it pull away from the backing of silver. And by the end of 1779, 192 million was in circulation, and $1 in paper money was worth only 1 or 2 cents in silver. The states were issuing their own paper money, contributing to the inflation. So here we go, how the printing is contributing to the inflation when it's not backed by anything. And so I'll take a look here. Let me pause this. So I looked at the Fed, the M2. Now, on a gold standard, the gold standard held the creation of money in check, right? So I have this yellow bar in 1970, up to 1970. We were at least at some sort of a gold standard, Bretton Woods at that time. And you can see here where, going from the left hand side of the chart to about 1970, it's very, very small. I mean, very, very small incline. So gold held money creation in check. So we go forward a bit. Now, removing the gold standard allowed unaccountable money creation. And we all know this, right? You take a look at the left-hand side of that yellow vertical line, it's relatively flat. Take a look at the right-hand side, things have gone pretty crazy there. So removing the gold standard allowed unaccountable money creation. And in fact, before QE, some $9 trillion were created. So the whole existence of the US, $9 trillion were created until about the time of QE. I had that arrow at about 2011. And what we saw after that, we saw QE come in and some $12 trillion created. We're at now some 21, $22 trillion or so of money that has been created. So you can see how really after the gold standard was removed, money printing went wild, came into QE, and it even got worse. And again, this was how America almost never came to be when we take a look at the story of the Continental. So we're doing the same things again today. I'm not even going to ask this question because we are. We are doing these same things again today. But maybe you got to ask why. Well, why? Why are we doing it? We already know what history tells us. There was almost not a US to exist, and we do it again. Is Are we trying not to have a US again? I mean, I don't know. I'll be looking for your comments here. But with so much paper money, prices were skyrocketing, and specie was being hoarded. Now, at one point, George Washington, commander of the Continental Army, remarked that a wagon load of money would not buy a wagon load of provisions. Now, innkeepers, merchants, and farmers were refusing to do business in terms of money. In 1779, the Continental Congress requested not money from the states, but actual supplies such as corn, wheat, hay, oats, in order to support the armies in the field. In other words, Congress didn't even want its own money. They wanted commodities. And you take a look today, Powell, he prints money. You take a look at Putin. Hey, he wants gold. He wants something real because he's giving commodities that are real. So he wants something that is real. Yes, he does take fiat from friends. He does, but if you're not a friend, you got to give him something real. And in the meantime, is Powell giving us anything real? Is he giving us anything real? Just continuing to print money. So that's pretty interesting in and of itself. Where Congress didn't even want its own money, they wanted real things, and here we are today. We're seeing the same thing again. All right, moving on. In Massachusetts and other states, attempts were made to fix maximum prices and to compel supply with severe penalties against forestalling, monopoly, oppression, extortion, and the like. And in January of 1777, Massachusetts passed a law covering the prices of 50 articles, such as good Indian meal or corn, 4 shillings a bushel, and good well fatted grass fed beef, 3 pence a pound. But the act did not last long, and in May of 1777, another was passed, which also did not last long. A total of 8 conferences were held among the New England states to conspire the control of prices, each one of each one of them failed. So again, I mean, here's the thing. We know what happens whenever you try to implement price controls. We know what happens. Companies go out of businesses. Companies refuse to do certain types of business. Companies stop producing what now becomes unprofitable. You and I get less and less choices. It's almost like a too big to fail thing, right? The bigs get bigger. We also know what happens when you try to control the price of a resource that you don't produce. You're trying to control the price of something you don't even make. You try to control the price by weaponizing the currency or sanctioning trade wars. They develop and new partnerships develop, new markets. They're going to be they're going to be sought after that are more favorable to you. And this is exactly again what we are seeing today. So some of the ripple effects of that continental, we're seeing it today with the ripple effects of what the Fed has done with the money printing and so-called sanctions, which I mean, it's a few degrees away from you know some type of a price manipulation, or it's not exactly the word I'm looking for, but it's a few degrees away when you do price controls from sanctioning. It's just a few degrees away. But in this case, a trusted currency for trade is what nations desire. That's all the world wants. All they want is a currency they can trust. Okay? This would be a natural reserve currency. This would be gold, and it's gold would prevent a lot of what's happening right now. So, if you really think about it, nations need to trade. We need to trade, but we want to trade with something we can trust, and the world no longer really trusts the U.S. dollar. Um, I won't get into the government part of it, but a lot of people in the world, a lot of nations don't really trust what's going on with the U.S. and you need that trust in order to trade, which is why they do buy gold. A lot of central banks are buying gold. It is a neutral reserve currency. It's a hedge against fiat. I guess you could say that. All right, moving on. Financially, even more than militarily, 1780 was the most crucial year of the war. Now, in May, King George III, look at what he said. King George III said that the financial distress in America would force the revolutionaries to sue for peace. But he used the word sue, but it would force the revolutionaries to sue for peace. Now, even America's adversaries knew it was the money creation and subsequent inflation that would ruin its citizenry. And today we might call this wiping out the middle class. I know you've heard that term before. Are we seeing it again today? Is the middle class, is it being wiped out? Is it in trouble? I mean, you look at mortgages on the rise. Now, people, you know, it's not their fault where they bought a home they could afford, but now with inflation all around them, everything else around them is going up, which is making their home, their mortgage harder and harder to pay. I mean, back in 2008, we had people who actually couldn't even afford a house, went ahead and got a house and end up losing it. This time around, we have people get homes that could afford the homes, but everything else around them now, inflation wise, is going up, making that mortgage more difficult to pay. And that goes with auto loans. Same thing. Employment wages, we're seeing these not keeping up, not keeping up with inflation. And then the worst part of it is it's not keeping up with inflation, and then you have their jobs going out of business. I mean, I just showed you a few places where jobs are really starting to go down. So it's going to get rough. It is getting rough right now. Pensions, 401ks, losing purchasing power. That this is true again. We saw what happened with the UK with their gilts, right? They had to go ahead and buy bonds. Why? Because their pensions were losing. They were losing because bond yields were going up. So that means when their money was invested, their pensions were invested in bonds. If that yield goes up from the point of when they bought it, that means they're losing money on the price of their bonds. So we saw this with UK. It's happening. US yields are going up as well. So I would not be surprised to hear the same. And of course, inflation, all this money creation. So again, the ripple effects of inflation, the ripple effects of money creation, far, far reaching and generational, generational reaching. This is the hard part about it. Uh, where King George III says the financial distress would cause the revolutionaries to sue for peace. What did he mean with that? That's a I find that an odd statement. Did he mean the people, unless fed, clothed, housed, and had a certain quality of life, would not fight for a government that gave them not? Not sure if that's what he meant, but that's how I interpret it. So fast forward, are we not seeing these things? Grants, relief packages, stimulus, all in the name of aid, pandering to people's financial distress in the name for votes. We saw it back then. We're seeing it again today. These are all effects, ripple effects of money creation. And if King George III, an adversary to America, knew this, how the money creation would eventually cause pain to that nation's people or any one nation that used it, accepted it, wouldn't America's adversaries today know the same thing? Of course they would. Why do you think we see, Russia has been buying so much gold? China has been buying so much gold, and I do believe they have more than what's stated, but we've seen countries buying gold. They understand what's happening. They're looking for new ways to transfer money around the SWIFT system and other things. And so other countries have seen it. Okay, they see and understand what money creation does. So again, the ripple effect. It's just amazing. Let me take a look at a few comments here. Ted Golden. Yes, this isn't Sunday. It's not Sunday. It's Monday. Let's see what else is out here. Okay. Let's see. SK. I think the U.S. will back a new currency with hold to get by. Will back a new currency, oh, with gold maybe to get by, and then gradually pull away from gold again to pure fiat, I guess. The only thing that may change is that the BRICS, the US, may be forced to do the same. It's going to change. It's definitely going to change all over the place. I mean, people have no faith anymore. No faith with governments across the world. I mean, Peter, for a while, uh, just look at the elections. Now, no matter which side you're on, it doesn't matter if your guy won, if your guy lost. It doesn't matter. What matters is if one year you think you don't trust the elections, and then another year, the other side, opposition, thinks, hey, I don't trust the elections. Shouldn't the two of you get together and say, hey, you know what? We both don't trust the election. I mean, remove the guy that won. Never mind if your guy won or not. It's gotten to a point where you don't trust the money, you don't trust your government, you don't trust the election. So forget about who wins or loses. Two sides need to look and say, hey, I don't believe this. The other guy will say, hey, you know what? I don't believe it either. In the other year, I don't believe it as well. And I mean, just end it there. It doesn't matter who won. It matters that people do not trust. You look at Brazil. You look at what's going on in Spain. So it's getting to that point already. So anyway, let me move on here. Alexander Hamilton said that France must be told that without a loan, America would have to make terms with Great Britain. Now, a French envoy secretly offered the British a truce involving their retaining New York, Georgia, and the Carolinas, but it was rejected. So at that time, as we've said here, politicians, governments will have deals both on the table and under the table. That's an example. As nations look to realign, align, there are things going on that we just don't know. And perhaps even with your own local government that you don't know. And you got to ask yourself, is this in your best interest? Um, so these things again, they all lead to currency. They all lead to money. What is money? Real money, because this is where the root of the problem is really coming from. So if you want to have a solution to this problem, the root of the problem, we need to understand what gold and silver do because of the ripple effect of the mistakes, uh, the greed sometimes that goes on. Um, may not be in your best interest. Anyway, almost all of this goes back to, of course, the unaccountable money creation, trusted money, sound money that holds governments to account. And this is what people want, and this is what gold does. Okay, this is the true fight, the true war of pretty much all of mankind faces for the future, which is what I was talking about, the generations, the generational ripple effect of money creation and things like inflation and how it really takes away and robs, and which is why we need some type of a store of value. The Continental Congress sent envoys to France to beg for aid in military forces, in supplies, and silver, in silver. French government itself, heavily burdened by war expenses, provided funds for the purchase in Europe of desperately needed supplies for the payment of interest on American debt placed with European creditors, and a relatively small but critical amount of silver for transport to the colonies. Thereupon, and under the direction of its new treasurer, Robert Morris, the Continental Congress essentially repudiated its paper money. The outstanding amount was to be redeemed, here we go, through payment of taxes to the states and exchanged at the rate of $40 in paper money to $1 in silver. Through this expedient, 120 million of paper money was retired. Another 6 million was exchanged for bonds at the rate of $1 in paper money to 1 cent in silver, and the balance was presumed lost, destroyed, or retained as souvenir. And this is why money needs to be real, because your time and your labor to go ahead and get this, to have a, to put some sort of a value in there, just vanished, gone, vaporized. So 100 or $1 to 1 cent. Now that's a 100 to 1 ratio. And this is what many of us do see. The day gold, silver has to eventually account for all this money creation. If there were a revaluation today of the money created, that was done in order for America to win its war for independence, an ounce of gold, an ounce of silver were perhaps be valued for us today at this rate. And so for that, I'll take a look at the debt clock. The right hand side, where you can see the dollar to silver ratio now is $724 per ounce. The dollar to gold ratio is $5,337 per ounce. So that's where we are. If you look at the money creation, that's where it's taking gold and silver to in order to account, as it's done in the past, for all the money created. State issued paper money in the aggregate, about 250 million, excuse me, was handled on a state by state basis. In the worst cases, Georgia, Virginia, it was accepted in payment of taxes at the rate of $1,000 in paper money for $1 in silver. Now, in these two states in North Carolina, Continental dollar continued to circulate for about a year following its collapse. Following its collapse, during which time these states suffered a continuing depreciation of their currency. New York was more representative, accepting its paper money in payment of taxes at the rate of $128 in paper money for $1 in silver. In Pennsylvania, the state accepted its paper money at the rate of $175 to 1. All right. Now, almost immediately, monetary reform revived commerce. Almost immediately, monetary reform revived commerce. So, both domestic and foreign. Silver flowed where it was formerly unavailable, coming out of hoards as well as from the expenditures of both the British and the French armies. The new paper money issued by private Bank of North America exchanged for silver at par. A French army joined with the U.S. Army and its Commander General Rochambeau graciously put himself and his force under the authority of Washington. Together, they pinned the British Army, and we know the rest of the story, where what happened at Yorktown. Last one here. According to Jefferson, the quantity which they were obliged to emit for the purposes of war again, exceeded what had been the usual quantity of the circulating medium. It began, therefore, to become cheaper, or as we expressed it, it depreciated, as gold and silver would have done, but they've been thrown into circulation in equal quantities. But not having, like them, an intrinsic value, its depreciation was more rapid and greater. So nowadays, our money isn't backed by much of anything other than green ink and the words "in God we trust." And this is a problem. It's a problem. The printing is the problem. Money creation is depreciating purchasing power of currencies. You see it, I see it, world sees it. A weak currency makes for a weak country. Uh, Absolutely, it absolutely does. I want to read you something that my colleague Vincent wrote. Okay, Vincent, wake up now. I'm gonna show the people something here. Um, Let me see here. Okay, so let me move on here. Vincent wrote this in our insights section. Um, it's a bit longer than this, but I'll just go through some parts. It was the disastrous experience with Continentals that motivated the founding fathers of the United States to create a clause in its new constitution to ensure that the money printing experiment would never happen again. Under Article 1, Section 10, the states were not permitted to coin money, emit bills of credit, or make anything but gold and silver coin a tender of payment of debts. And we know how we skirted this, where the Federal Reserve is not a state, so it's not held to that part of the Constitution. Um, that's how they kind of skirted around this. Now, of course, this section in the Constitution has been totally ignored as trillions of dollars have been created in the greatest money printing experiment in history. When money printing is the only tool of government, it is the answer to every problem in the economy. The allure of the power to print currency is powerful, and it corrupts almost every lawmaker. As with every bout of currency printing in history and the currency collapse that followed, the money printing experiment we are witnessing will fail, and fail it will spectacularly. Today, the US has some 8,133 tons of gold. Let's let's believe 8,133 tons of gold reserves with an estimated value of about $500 billion. This was back then, so this article is a bit older now, so that price value has changed. The official M1 money supply, the narrowest measure today, stands at 20 trillion. Again, this is it's a bit older now. 4,000% of the nation's gold reserves. However, unlike in the 18th century, the U.S. debt is much more complicated today if we take into account outstanding um, bonds and unfunded liabilities. The mountain of debt is pyramiding upon a comparatively small amount of gold. Unlike mortal men, gold and silver have been around for 5,000 years. They are inanimate, unable to defend themselves from the schemes to suppress or manipulate them. However, they are the personification of value, given that every atom is gold and silver, and this is the reason why humankind will always gravitate toward precious metals as an equitable medium of exchange. If gold and silver were alive, they will bid their time, knowing that they will have their time in the sun again when humankind realizes that all the printed currency is not worth a continental. So again, this was written by Vincent Tai. The article is not worth a continental. And if you'd like to find that articles and more, visit our website, silverbullion.com.sg, head over to resources and click on insights. So Vincent, I appreciate that article that you've written. Was just a few months back, but still very, very relative today. Point being, if we don't go back to sound money, it isn't just the value of money that becomes lost. Part of our lives, they become lost as well. Forget about the wars with countries and understand the war today is a battle of currencies. Jim Rickards has a book called Currency Wars, but that's between nation and nation, their currencies. This is about central banks. This is the currency war, not against other nations, but a currency war between you, maybe your government, maybe your central bank. It is down to personal level. So gold and silver, they got to be victorious, and that starts with you and me. We have to be our own bank and understand that gold and silver are more than just price. We have to understand it's more than just what we see the price movement to be. We have to understand that because history tells us gold and silver has led countries to rise, and not having it has led nations to fall. And by not having it back a currency. So it all begins and ends with you. Be your own bank. Get some gold, get some silver. That's going to wrap up the topic of the day. So please do like, subscribe, share it if you feel like it. And I'll be looking for your comments here. I'll be looking for your comments. So let's see. Texas has a depository now. That's true. I've heard the Delaware depository has gotten in some trouble though. 4-9 silverbacks are coming out as well. And that's you know that's a big part of it. We have to try and help to educate younger people. When the older guys get into it, we have to also reaffirm um, this is the right thing to do because it takes. I've heard a few guys say this, and I agree. It takes a family to understand this. Um, the husband can go and buy some silver and bring it home, and a wife might say, "Hey, you could have used that money to take us on vacation or something like that." The family has to understand this together. That is the best way. You have to understand together what you're doing and try and express it to your friends and other family. Let me see what else is out here. Um, okay, let's see. Um, Rolf Steiner, all countries need to be given a free choice now to break away from the USA empire and make new alliances with other nations like Russia and China, but the US empire would hate them. Mr. Steiner, you know, I mean, there is truth in that. You the world has changed. Um, the people have said this before, and I don't have a problem saying this. The U.S. is not the same country I grew up in. It's just not. And we've seen countries on the rise. We have countries on the rise. We have countries who can challenge the some of the misdeeds that have been going on. Now, there's misdeeds all over the place. I'm not supporting one country over the other. I'm just saying, as a person who is on this earth, I don't think there's really very many countries who have my best interests at heart. And so, it's up to me to first understand that a lot of this has to do with money, not knowing what money is, devaluing, debasing money, taking my time, my labor away by giving me this fake money. I need to get it back. I need to get it and understand it and know that, if in case these currencies do get into trouble, I have a store of value. And I mean, make no mistake, things are going to continue to change by evolution or revolution. It will continue to change. So a few more comments here. Let's see. Texas Depository is not run by the government, but by an independent contractor. So it is only reliable as the one who runs it. You know what? That's a great point. And I'm going to say that's one thing with silver bullion and the vault, the safe house. We look forward to having you come and seeing your holdings and walking you through the vault to see how we do things. A lot of companies will not do that. They will tell you because of insurance practices or whatever it may be. we can't invite you to come. We can take you to a room on the side, and we'll bring your holdings there to this room, and we can put you there, and you can look through it, and you can see that you have it, but you may not be able to walk through the bulk. And this is one of the things I really do love about silver bullion and the safe house. Extremely transparent. Um, we can walk you through it. We can show you how we handle your gold, your silver, how we even test it. I mean, does your vault test your gold and silver and tell you with absolute 100% certainty what you are storing with us is gold and is silver? Does your vault even do that? What are you storing? Don't know, right? With us, we actually test it. We will test it. You can even audit it personally. We're working on that. I don't know if we have that feature yet where we'll be able to do that for you. Um, we will be able to do that for you. We're going to bring that online eventually. Um, we want you to see what we do and how we do it. We don't want you to have any question if you own what you think you own. We don't want you to have any question if what you think you own is really what it is. So we want to put that to rest for you. A lot of other vaults they simply won't do that. Vincent chiming in at 49. That's excellent. Awake from the fiat scam. Let's see. I guess this is in response to I got a friend to finally understand gold. Now his wife gave up designer handbags and buys gold. That is that's awesome. That's awesome. And this is the part about the family having to understand. I mean, men, I still do believe that, we're the head of the family. If this is what we're going to do, help the wife to understand, help the kids to understand. Um, it's good if your wife is on board because she is a huge part of the family and the input that the family receives. So it's really a family thing. You got to do it as a family. Let's see. Pablo Pino, when CBDCs came out, we will all be trapped. Nothing personal. Pablo, that's one of the things with CBDCs that people do um, have a fear about and do not have a liking about, where uh, you could be trapped. Everything goes on the blockchain, and what you do, what you buy, where you go. I mean, it's all going to be known. And these are the things where maybe you can only have so much meat a month. And if you try and buy meat, you don't have any cash, any coin, you go ahead and give them your card or QR code, whatever it is, and they're going to tell you at the checkout counter, "Sorry, sir, you've had enough meat for the month. Here's our plant-based section to the right. You can go there and get something." I don't know. I don't know how it's going to be, but it's that control factor where if you have no cash, no coin, eventually it'll get to that point. You have less choices, and what are you going to do? You can't. What are you going to give that clerk if you have no cash or coin? He's just going to read off, "Sorry, sir, that's it. You reached your monthly limit." So CBDCs, I mean, Neil Kashkari even said um, he doesn't see any benefit. CBDCs cannot do what they are already doing today. And that came from Neil Kashkari, Fed president or governor, I forget which he is. He even said that. So again, keep your eye on this. Um, let's see. Truth Monster, just don't dive into gold like the duck. It'll be painful. Okay, Truth Monster, let's see. Yeah, that comes from you can hang out in the vault. You'd be like that cartoon duck that dives in the gold. Well, you definitely don't want to do that. But I tell you, it's the vault is something to see. Um, to me, the best part of that vault is knowing how many people around the world see the same things that I see the same things that you may see. It's all over the world, and people are buying. They are putting, some savings into it. Some of their retirement is going into it. Some of their business, profits are going into it. They open up trust accounts for their businesses for their kids. they'll go ahead and buy, and you can do this with us. You can go ahead and buy metals, and when you can, there's a clause where until your children are 18, they can't withdraw, they can't have access to it. So there are things you can do with us, and it's because we understand you. We're one of you. We are one of you. Gregor, the founder, he's really he's a s- he's a silver animal. That guy, he just loves his silver. So and I'm in the same boat, a little bit smaller boat, but a lot of us here that work for the company, we're in that same boat. We understand it. It's not a business for us. I mean, it is a business, but it's almost a lifestyle, so to speak, because we understand what's going on, and we're trying to protect ourselves the same way you are. So interesting there. Yeah, Scrooge McDuck, I think it is. Let's see what else is out there. Um, John Boy Silver, to circumvent CBDCs, parallel economies need to be built. Yeah, that is true. And some people think this is where we may end up in some type of like a barter system. Um, I'm one of them. I'll just say it, I'm one of them. But I also understand if I'm in, let's say, California, and you're in New York, and you're willing to sell your house for gold or silver, and I'm willing to buy it for gold or silver, how do I get my gold or silver to you? So barter, it's good. It's good geographically up until a point. Once you pass a certain point, then we have to look at a way to transport or to transfer our metals to someone else who's willing to accept it. So this is where I say it may not hurt to take a look at especially Cash Gold, CACHE.gold, back token, where it's a way that you can move your gold the way you need it to be moved. So it's a good point there. I do agree with what you're saying. Henry, it's still Sundays. Yes, it's just that I couldn't do the live stream last Sunday. That is true. I couldn't do it. It's my fault. I wasn't able to do it yesterday, but I'm here today, trying to get it done for you folks. So let's see what else is out there. Okay, so I guess that's it. I appreciate your comments. I appreciate you being here and joining us. The ripple effect of inflation. You see how far and wide it can really go. So we need to keep that in mind. I think I'll skip the commentary section. I mean, I've kind of been going on and on here, but something we got to keep in mind, that the consequences of inflation and how it affects us generationally, and um, the money supply. It's incredible to see what it's causing right now. So just be aware, keep your head on a swivel. Watch what's coming out of Asia right now, or going to come out of Asia with the G20. I think it's over in Bali. Um, it's getting rough because U.S. is not as strong as it once was, and the credibility part is not as strong as it once was. So let's just keep watching what's going to come out of this G20 event, and um, figure out what we need to do. So with that, I'll be wrapping it up. I appreciate you guys being here. Vincent appreciates you guys as well. Thanks for joining the live stream. Take care, and we'll see you in the next one. Um, we'll send out the gift cards after the live stream. So I'll see you guys next week. Take care. As we always say, saddle up for what's coming ahead. Silver up is where. Silver up as well, and be a blessing. Be a blessing, not a burden. See you guys next week. Let me scroll through these real quick. Okay. So see you guys next week. So take care.